Hey, Terrace Christian Reformed Church. This is one of the videos I'm making in a series of videos, one a week, of just thoughts that I'm having or things that I've learned. I'm going to start today. Oh, I forgot to get the book ready. By passing on greetings from Jim Pullman, who covered for the last sabbatical. I think it was 2018, he said. And he was on a Zoom call. I was on a Zoom call that he was also part of yesterday. And so he asked me to pass on the greetings. Now, I normally immediately forget that, but today I remember because I just walked past this book again. This is the book we were discussing. Interesting that I'm having trouble getting it focused because the book is called, will it focus? Ah, okay, it's called Future Focused Church. I might even leave it for the church library when I go because I'm done with it. And the one thing I'm trying to prune, well, the one thing in terms of material things that I own besides my car and my bike are way too many books. So I'm not going to bring another book back home. This was given to us through Thrive at the STM conference a few weeks ago, and as a good learning. And in many ways, it's a valuable book for church leadership for anybody to read. So I think I might just leave it behind. Anyway, greetings from Jim. He spoke highly of his time here and gave me some ideas of some sites to still go see. And he too, like others here, have said, I got to do the drive to Prince Rupert before I leave. Looks like I won't make it out to Haida Gwaii. That'll have to be another time. So for today's video, I want to talk about, I kind of want to build on the video from last week, which, by the way, we had some confusion about the link. And so some of you may have been taken directly to some sense making I tried to do around Synod 2023, because I had linked that video in the video notes that I had made. But the video that I made specifically for this context for you to think about was called The Ums, and it's about spectrums and continuums and how on various aspects of being, we all fall in some place on a continuum of some sort. Introversion, extroversion, emotional, rational. There's just many of these scales. Today, I want to build on that a little bit by talking by starting with the idea of IQ, which is the intelligence quotient. And I don't know how long ago it was, but there was a measure made for that. And that's really a measure of, I'm going off the top of my head, but of the ability to figure out problems, clear thinking. Maybe, I'm not sure if it's just about being rational, but figuring things out is what I always think of it as, the intelligence quotient. I just saw an article about or a news piece about a young boy that has been admitted into Mensa, which is an organization of people that have high IQ scores. So it's a very interesting aspect of humanity, people that have high IQ. What I've always found interesting is that it seems to me that a lot of people that have high IQ are not um, are not strong in some other areas, relationally or emotionally. And so, you get the whole absent-minded professor image where a house could be burning down around the professor, but they're just so caught up in a particular idea or solving a particular problem that they don't even notice, or other things they might not notice because they're so engaged in the one thing. So today I want to add to that idea something that I found important, which is relational quotient and emotional quotient, or IQ. Yeah, no, you can't use I because that's intelligence. So how good you are, how healthy you are emotionally, and how healthy you are relationally. These two overlap, but they're not always exactly the same. So a person with a high EQ would be very good at identifying their own emotions and recognizing emotion in another person, and I'm going to say understanding it properly, or even just being curious about it to help identify it even further, because we can often be mistaken about the emotion we think we're seeing in someone else. So, in the world of emotionality, people with a high EQ, I don't think there is a test for it that I know of. Again, I didn't research this, but they are good at identifying the feelings they're having and naming them, and they're sensitive to the feelings and to naming them for others. People with an RQ, a high RQ, relational quotient, are good at getting along with people. Now, getting along can imply a sort of a giving in, or not standing up for themselves. And that's not what I mean. I mean that while having good boundaries themselves, they build good relationships with others as well. So that's RQ. And these are both things that I began to learn about myself and about the world late in life, beyond my 30s, that they're a thing. And in my work in churches and as a pastor in general, I've learned that they are very important. Pastors who have a very high IQ, or who we would might say are very academically good, might not be good in EQ or RQ. And RQ especially is an important skill for a pastor to have. So I wanted to put those out there as categories to think about. Um, Couple of examples. I remember when I was a student at King's in Edmonton, and there was a particular professor that I really liked, but he really liked if students could challenge what he had taught, or at least grapple with it well in exams. And one student that I had known from where I lived previously, in fact, I taught her like in catechism way back when, was in his office as I walked by, very upset, crying because she hadn't gotten a good grade. And he was trying to tell her that all she had done was regurgitate the information that he had given in his class, and that was not what he had looked for. He was looking for grappling with the information. So that would be an example of a person who might have a high academic quotient or IQ, but had earned that simply by being good at repeating what had been taught rather than thinking it through. And certainly at that time, King's, this is the late 80s, early 90s, was about teaching students to truly grapple with ideas, thoughts, philosophies, histories, all that kind of stuff, which is partly why I so much enjoyed it. So, relational intelligence, you know, is when people say about other people works well with others. That's a sign of relational intelligence. Again, I want to caution that I'm not talking about what will I call that? Glad handers. Uh, so there are people who are very good at getting along with everyone, but when you stop to think about it, you don't really know who they are. And if you don't know who they really are, anything authentic about them, then I would argue they don't have good relational intelligence, because relational intelligence also involves being somewhat revealing, not being closed. So there are people that can be friendly to everyone, but you don't know the substance of them. And so I want to caution that I don't mean that by relational intelligence. I mean people that can get along with people well, even to the point where they can challenge a person and the recipient of the challenge respects the challenge because of the emotional and relational place that the challenger is speaking from, or history that they have. So among these ums that I talked about in the last video that I made, there beyond that there are these relational or intelligence, emotional criteria as well that are worth considering, and it's worth knowing for yourself um, if you're where your EQ or RQ lie. And in some ways, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging, for an academic, for instance, that yeah, I'm pretty good at book knowledge, but I'm not so good with people, or I'm good with people, but I'm not so good with book knowledge. In my life lately, I'm moving away from the book knowledge. I just don't remember stuff anymore, and life experience has built some, I hope, EQ and RQ into who I am. Although RQ is still a weakness for me, um, in terms of what introversion does to you. Another story, another time. So those are the thoughts I wanted to share. I'll be spending a fair bit of time monitoring Synod as it begins this weekend. I'm very curious about what might develop there. Maybe some of you that watch this don't know what's been going on, but there's some big shifts that have been happening in the culture of the CRC, and I'm currently formulating a piece, an article, mostly for my own reflection at this point, on what that's all about. Just to give you a snapshot, I believe that both the progressive end of the Christian Reformed Church, so the people that became, as for shorthand, called affirming, and the ultra conservative people that are kind of ruling the day right now, their votes are the highest at Synod. That both of those groups are more affected by trends in the culture, broader trends in the culture, than they realize, and that it's time for some people to start, some people who are good at this, to kind of take a hot air balloon view of this and articulate what that is. So I'm trying to do my version of that, and maybe I'll make that a video one of these days too. But it's very likely that by the middle of next week, I'll have some things to say about Synod already, and that will be what my video will be all about. I'm also trying a new method of recording this video, and so we'll see how it turns out when I get to sharing it. Thank you for watching these, and if you ever want to talk about one of them, just send me an email or let me know some other way.